Welcome to the Poetry Podcast with A, an Amber Michelle's work production. In this series, The Pop-Up, our mission is to pop up in the community to connect with writers, authors, and poets. Sheri Purpose Hall.
Hey.
Thank you so much for coming on The Pop-Up today. So The Pop-Up is a podcast where we just pop up in the community, talk to authors, poets, writers of all kind. And I really wanted you to get on this series because ever since the book launch that I had you perform at, my book launch that I had.
Which was beautiful.
Thank you.
It was such a beautiful, it was so much love there.
Have you ever been to the Greenwood Social Hall before?
I had not been there before. I had heard of it, but I had not been there before. But your event was just really unique in that amount of love and diversity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got so many compliments on you. So many people were like, wait, because our communities probably haven't like completely, you knew people there.
Yeah.
But obviously, because it's Kansas City, it's small. But my guests, not everyone knew you. And they were like, holy shit, who is that woman? Even my husband, he was like, damn, she stole the show. No offense, babe. But I mean, that's why I'm like, I am the type of person who just wants to be around that energy and talk. That's like the purpose of this, is to like talk to people who are in the community, really spreading that type of energy that's just full of love, full of passion. And when you read, it is exactly that.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm just happy to like dive deeper into like how you even got to where you are, because the list goes on and on with you of what you do. Spoken word artist, author, founder of so many organizations. You're a minister, I found out.
Yeah.
And I know I'm missing things. I wrote down literally this list: radio personality, actress.
I do stuff and things. That is the technical term.
Mother, gardener,
yeah.
all these things.
And I'm a wild woman and I cuss a lot.
Yeah, I cuss a lot too. So this is a safe space.
Because you have to get through life.
I just can't not cuss.
Oh, I can't either. And because we're both poets, we have an understanding of language. We have an understanding of language.
Did you grow up with people cussing in the house? Because I did. I think that's why.
A little.
My dad cussed so much that it's just second nature.
A good cuss word is freeing for me.
Freeing?
Freeing. And for me, it's not just, I don't necessarily want to use them as filler words in my art. Like I have a poem that is the etymology of MF, right? So, but the only cuss word I use in the poem is that. So they're like, you cuss so much in the poem. Nope. I only said one cuss word.
Yeah.
I just repeated it a whole bunch of times. But the thing is, like, yes, there is decorum and things of that nature. And when people say, you shouldn't curse, and I don't.
Yeah.
I don't tell people they're not going to be anything. I, as a matter of fact, encourage people to be all they can be. Those are curse words. What I'm using is derogatory language. It may not be the most savory thing to your ear gate sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's satiating me right now. So there's that.
Yeah. It's just full of so much. I think when you're a type of person that is unfiltered.
Yeah.
It's just, it comes out. You don't give a fuck.
I am very much what I would probably describe as a lady with couth. But fuck it.
I was going to ask you, out of all the things that you are, what would you connect to the most?
Human.
Yeah.
People want to boil you down to your resilience. They want to boil you down to, especially like, you're a strong Black woman. I resent that phrase a lot of times. Or be like, hey, yeah, you're such a poet. I'm a writer.
Yeah.
I write lots of things, essays, blog pieces, scientific articles. I write grants to help me have a salary. I mean, I'm a writer. I will write you up.
Yeah.
If you cross me wrong, like I write applications. I'm a writer, but don't boil me down to just poet. But I write out of my humanity, out of a necessity to live, and that necessity to live, that will to live, again, that goes back to humanity. And I think any artist, the base element, they are human first, and being able to translate and communicate that humanity to people effectively, that is where we come together and are able to understand one another through the arts.
Totally. Your vocabulary is off the wall. What do you contribute to that?
My aunt was a kindergarten teacher. May she rest her soul. She passed away when I was 11. My aunt and my mother. I could ask my mother what something means. She would never tell me what anything means. She'd tell me, go look it up.
I love that.
So
you were
a
dictionary kid?
I was a dictionary kid who turned into a thesaurus kid, because I am a person with a thirst for knowledge. So now when I'm writing, I need to find a different word for something. Like, I know this word for it, I need a different word for it. And it came from there, from that. That's kind of the root of it, though. If I ask you what something means, now I need to go find it myself. So that's that kind of self-reliance as well. My friends, and it annoys the piss out of me. And then I start talking and I figure out this is why they do this. So they call me Google.
I can see it.
Huzzies. The men too. Huzzy is a non-binary term. So my man included, Huzzy, he called me Google. They call me Google. Like, hey, Sheri, what's this? And it's because I will research something, and that's also how I do art.
Yeah.
Outside of pulling feelings out of my heart and out of my gut and out of my brain and out of the wealth of my experiences, now out of my concepts, I had this thought, I'm going to go look it up. And looking it up leads to more terms, leads to more definitions, leads to more etymologies, leads to more background.
So that's just been you. Were you a library kid too then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a reader. I have
and
a library
you're from Kansas
at home.
City?
I am books. I need to hold the books. I got to feel the books. They're my friends. I was the only child. So when I say the books are my friends, y'all understand me, right? The books are my friends. They're not my only friends. I'm not a weirdo. I am a weirdo. But now I sound like Rick James in that Chappelle show. Like, I didn't do that to I did. No, but the books are my friends. And I catch hell moving. We just moved my office, and the boxes were getting lifted.
Carrying books are so heavy. I'm hiring out.
So that's why I kept a boyfriend in school. Switched him out every few months. It's okay. Muscle fatigue is real. So, hey girls, date them all. Their muscles get tired, so you find the one.
Speaking of books, you have a collection of your own.
This is some of them.
Okay. You brought more than 4.
I did.
But I thought you had 4.
I actually have 5.
Okay.
And I am included in some other collections. Yeah.
Of course you are. Out of these that you have sitting here, which do you love the most, or do you love them all like a baby?
I love them all like a baby for different things. Righting Wrongs, Riding the Hill, which is this big one here.
Was this your first?
No, my first was Chosen for Both.
Okay.
So Chosen for Both is actually dropped in the back of this deluxe version of Black Girl Shattered.
Okay.
And that's what makes it a deluxe version, because it actually has 2 books in one. Chosen for Both is my first book, and if I hadn't done that book, I would not be a writer, publisher, any of that right now, because I was being obedient, because I heard God when he said, you need to publish this book. And it's December 31st. I'm supposed to go do Kwanzaa at the gym theater, and I still didn't have a book. And I said, okay, this is finna double as my book release party. And I hit up Almar Printing, and I already had some poems that had been kind of workshopped through other people, because I was applying for some residencies. So I pulled those things together, and plus some other things, did my own cover art, had it printed by 2:00, and took it with me to go do this show that I had curated. Because
how many did you print?
Obedience. 100.
Yeah, that's a good amount for like a release like that.
And it was a little thin book. It was like 20 pages.
Yeah.
It was just a little.
And which one was it?
Chosen for Both.
Okay, that's what it was. So that was your first one.
Yeah, and it's actually at the back. So I reprinted. I put it in the back of Black Girl Shattered.
Only the deluxe edition?
Only the deluxe edition.
Does the other version have a different cover?
The other version has a white cover.
Okay, well, I got this one, so I'm excited.
Always get the deluxe edition.
Totally.
So the white cover came out on 39 West Press, and I had that one discontinued when I put out the deluxe edition.
Okay, so that's the only way you can get this one now.
Either you can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, stuff like that, or you can get it directly from me and on my website.
Amazing. So this is the last book you've published?
No.
So this is in the middle.
This is probably in the middle. After that, I made Mélange du Film Noir. And let's see, I made this book after, which is Blue Black, and it's in remembrance of my cousin, Gary Taylor. So he was gunned down in 18th and Vine. And I made this, and every time I get a sale, I send that money over to his mother to kind of put away for his daughters. And it was a poem that I wrote that I read at his memorial service, that comes from concepts that he would actively speak, and everyone loved him.
That's
he was a physical trainer. A couple of those times that I was teaching myself to walk again, he was there to help physical train me.
Oh, so you guys were close.
Yeah, he was my little big cousin.
Yeah.
He wanted to be taller and bigger than me. That's fine. I'm still the big cousin though, but that's the argument. But like, he was even there when I used to go play volleyball, and he's running behind me. He's at the gym with me, you know what I'm saying? And then he became the, bigger, more muscular, healthier, clearly.
Yeah.
Like muscles popping everywhere. But that's that book. But this is actually the most recent release. And this book is actually under the pseudonym Miko Black. So,
that's I saw this one on your website, but I didn't know if it was you, because you have another book that you're producing or like advertising for a friend.
For Angel, for Just Angel.
Yeah.
So that is her book.
So I thought this was completely another person too. But no, this is you.
It is me. It's my pseudonym, Miko Black. So
I like that.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, what's with Miko Black?
So Sheri Hall ran for office.
Okay.
And Sheri Hall is a minister. But Sheri Hall, don't tell anybody, even though you heard this, cusses a lot and writes erotica. And is sassy. Or is that Miko? So Miko Black's book has all that content and material.
It has the spice.
It has the spice. Stanza and Spice. That's the name of it. So that's Stanza and Spice Volume 1. Miko Black is me.
Okay, so you're going to have multiple volumes on this.
I will.
Amazing. When did it come out?
So Stanza and Spice actually came out last year.
Nice.
And so when I come out doing those, swinging for the fences, doing those very spicy poems,
This is where you get it.
That's that one.
Amazing.
Miko is very much, especially even when we're talking about mental health and I'm being the very kind counselor that I am, like, yes, you need to go take care of yourself. Miko Black comes out and says, fuck self-care. That's Miko Black.
Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Would you ever perform any of the poems that you put in your books?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have.
So you mix them?
I do.
Okay.
So you get those live performances of everyone I am. I believe in being my whole full self.
Yeah.
So I am very much Sheri Purpose Hall as I am Miko Black, as I am Arson, as I am all the rest of the personalities that live inside of this dome.
Do you ever not put pieces that you perform into your books?
Yes.
Yeah. Writer of all kind. Do you feel like some pieces of work are not meant for a book?
Yes. There are some that are so personal that I have a vault. Mm-hmm. I have a Prince vault, I call it. That those close to me, they know, should they find that vault, you don't publish that. Yeah. That's that private work. That's that. If you read it and you're so fortunate to see it, you tuck that away. Maybe you give that to the kids. Maybe you don't. Maybe, but that's not for public consumption.
I get that.
Because Prince had a vault, you know, all the genius he is. Could you make money off of that? Of course you could. Probably. Yeah. You know, but.
Do you feel like your vault has pieces of people you care about the most? And that's why you don't want to release, like, it's so sensitive that you almost don't want other people to know that about you? Or
there are pieces in there in my vault that are unfinished that I can't. There are pieces in my vault that are finished that are so private that I'm not sharing that part of myself right now, right? I did that for me to heal. There are pieces in the vault that are old, very, very, very old, that I can see where I came from. But
you don't necessarily need to be like bringing it up all the time and like expressing it. That's kind of
how it's a conglomerate of things.
That's what I kind of experienced with writing a collection about sobriety. It's like I don't want to continue always talking about sobriety for the rest of my life,
right?
Because it's not really who I am anymore. Because I'm good now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like some of those pieces have to like end up in that vault.
But you have that vault as a reminder for you. If you ever need to go revisit, if you need to. And like I said, at your release, sobriety recovery looks different for everybody, right? Because I used to be a binge drinker. I was that person. I went 10 years not touching a drop. Now for me, it's moderation.
Yeah.
So for me, my reminder, I know who I am. Now I'm at a certain point. I don't have to keep on thinking, and a lot of people, especially because I'm of the church, when folks give that testimony, it sounds almost like, oh, okay, so was this you 20 years ago or was this you last night? Are you still reliving this? Is this your glory days? Or are you telling us not to? Make it clear.
Yeah.
Make it clear. Because sometimes you got to leave some stuff behind.
That's how I feel about that. And I don't know if you've ever felt like this, but when writing a book, it just feels like, okay, poof, gone, on to the next.
Doesn't it? Some parts.
Yeah.
Some parts.
That's true. Because some poems I would be like, cool, let's read them. But other, I'm like, I don't even connect with this emotionally anymore.
There's some that I have forgotten. That's in this book? Shut up. Because like Black Girl Shattered is a long book. It's like a big book. So I'm like, that was dope. I should do something like that again.
Yeah. Totally. Okay, I want to go back to these. We're going to get back to these books in a minute, but I also want to talk about everything that you are a founder of.
Sure.
So, Arson Spitfire.
Yeah.
Let's start there. How would you describe that in a sentence of what that is?
Arson Spitfire started as an open mic and became a launching pad for people. Arson Spitfire is dormant right now, right? But that is what helped me. So what people didn't necessarily know, as I said, Arson Spitfire was named after me, after one of my personalities.
Okay.
Because I named my personalities. Arson was one of those people who people, whether they knew it or not, they slammed against. If I came into the slam, you probably didn't slam against Sheri, Purpose, Hall, or Purpose. You slammed against Arson.
Okay.
And that's who won the slam. Because fire. I came to set things ablaze.
Okay, East of Red Art House.
That is a nonprofit to help those who are underserved and wanting to do art.
Okay, what does that look like when you say helping them?
So when we look at the redlining, we're looking at east of the red line in Kansas City, right? East of the red line, we look at poverty, people who are generally underserved or unserved or forgotten. And over there, you say that you want to be an artist for a living, you might get laughed at. Mm-hmm. You aren't presented with real resources, or you get met with coded language. Well, can you come bless us? And the coded language of bless is you don't get paid, right? And that's fine. That's cool. But presenting real options for sustainability, education on that, education on resources and things of that nature, and opportunity. That's what East of Red is about right now. East of Red operates sometimes even as a fiscal umbrella for artists, rather than them having to go to Fractured Atlas.
So what made you start that?
Because I was one of those artists who was going through Fractured Atlas to apply for things. I am one of those artists who couldn't make money in my own neighborhood. I had to be going either out of town, which I still go out of town. You know, I've built that, or to Overland Park or somewhere else, or even finding out about grants that were happening. Those education sessions were not happening around where I am. They were happening everywhere else. And you come to find out, you start rubbing shoulders and elbows with people in the arts community, and they will tell you, hey, we're looking for more people who look like you to apply for these things. How do we get that information to you guys?
Mm-hmm. And you're like, there's a hole. I need to fill it.
There's a hole. But when I started to fill that hole, then the opportunity to become CEO of Poetry for Personal Power dropped in my lap. So trying to spark the programming for East of Red fell to the back burner of me trying to gather up the mental health and arts of Poetry for Personal Power.
Yeah. So do they work hand in hand ever together?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so explain what Poetry for Personal Power is then.
Poetry for Personal Power looks at the connection between mental health and arts. So we provide non-clinical behavioral health services in the form of peer support, both one-on-one and in groups. We also have a conference that comes up in every October, the second week of October. So it'll be coming up this October, which centers Black and African American mental health and arts, called The Right of Joy. And Poetry for Personal Power is going through a rebranding.
Really?
Yes. So soon we will be Artrophy.
Beautiful.
Yes. So we will be on the lookout for that.
Okay, very cool.
A whole new launch is happening.
Cool. Okay, do you meet, what's the workshop you do on Wednesday nights? Is that Poetry for Personal Power?
So the workshop on Wednesday nights, that used to be a thing. And it used to be once a month. It used to be a community workshop that I would do writing. It was a writing and performance workshop. First half writing, second half performance. Okay. And we would have a good time. And I met so many people doing that. I did that for 2 years straight at Uptown Arts Bar.
Okay.
And then Uptown Arts Bar got closed, and there was that big uproar in the community. Like, you're taking our community away from us. And people slowly filtered out and found new ways to have community. So that's kind of what happened there.
Was it branded under personal poetry for personal power?
No, it
wasn't.
Me.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up of which things belong
to which.
Because you have so many.
Because some things are just me. And at that time when I was doing that, it was just me.
When did you stop doing it? Was it recent?
2018.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, that's crazy. I thought that there was someone who was talking to me saying they went, but it was recently. So that makes me confused. Did you do something on a Wednesday night that was like helping people with their performance and stuff, or no? Maybe I'm getting confused.
You know what? I do lots of stuff, and I have done recently a workshop somewhere.
Okay. Maybe it was that.
Because I do get now hired for different workshops for people to do things.
Because the woman I was talking to that said that she was at one of your workshops. She felt like it was so useful because of how you helped her with her presence of saying a poem. Because she had a poem, she read it once, and the critique back on it was just like, you need to say it again, but say it with your heart.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like, out of all the people that you've helped, what is some common theme that you see with people, if there is a common theme, of how to read your work when you're performing? Because you are the queen of performing. So how do you...
I wouldn't call myself the queen.
I did, though.
Thank you. I'm going to say a common thing with people, and when they first approach that performance, it depends on where they are with their work, right? It depends on their comfortability or their background with poetry, what they think. Because you can see what they think poetry is through the way that they approach the mic. So if they think it is very performative, that's how they're going to approach it. If they think it is a reading, that's how they're going to approach it. So then you're going to ask them, what do you want out of this work? Do you want spoken word out of it, or do you just want a reading?
Okay.
So that's the difference. If you want spoken word out of it, cool. The same saying is going to go forth, though. You are going to read it with your heart. You're going to remember why you wrote it. You're going to read it because 9 times out of 10, in that poem, you've already put everything in there that need to be in there. Now, maybe there needs to be some editing, right? To take out fluff or to rearrange. Sometimes there may need to be, okay, there's some details missing here. But a lot of times where you have writers, they may have put a whole bunch in there. But reading it with your heart and reading it as a conversation. Because if you're talking to me like you're talking to me now, you're telling me things like you mean it, and we're conversational. And this is the communication pattern, right? You're doing the communicator, transmission, receiver, right? It's the communication line.
Yeah.
It's basic. So we have to take a moment and go back to being very basic and keep it very basic in order for it to do well. At the moment that we stop being very basic, we stop communicating. And at the very heart of poetry, that is what we want to do. At
we want to communicate.
At the end of our flowery words, at the end of our metaphors and extended metaphors and palindromes and counterpuntals and no, I said this, but I took you to a parallel universe. Blah. You know, we can do all of that. If we don't communicate, it doesn't communicate.
Everyone's lost.
Everyone's lost.
I even see that with my commercial work a lot because I record a lot of voiceovers.
Yeah.
And I'm always telling people, I can tell you're reading it even though I can't see your face.
Yeah.
I can just tell. There's something about that communication. I'm always being like, read it like you are talking, like conversing with me and talk like you're on stage. But then you see them go up on stage and then it's still like they're reading.
Yeah.
Even when they're not.
And it's
Do you
not
think
even
that
just the
comes
eye
with
contact either. It is the
emotion
I
or
want
something?
to talk to you. I don't have to ask you to add emotion if you have a compelling to want to talk to me. Me asking you to add emotion here, there, adjust the level up, down, this, that, and the other can come after you want to have the conversation. If you're not compelled to want to have the conversation, because some of the subjects that people write about are really heavy. It's really hard for them to want to get through. Like tough. So asking a person to have the conversation and lead with their heart first, base level.
Yeah.
We got to start there.
Do you think that it takes practice too?
It does. Because a performer and an audience is a relationship, no matter who's in the audience.
It's just audience.
It's a relationship, just like a marriage.
That's a good way to put it.
Marriages take work. People think, oh, you're married now. You've arrived. Arrived where? Where you get. Marriages still take work. You had a plan when you got there and you guys wanted to get somewhere. You guys wanted to buy a house. You guys still have to talk about finances. You guys still have to talk about goals and this and that and the third. And at any point you guys stop communicating, then you guys hit a wall and then there's tears. And then you guys have to come back from that. And where did we go wrong? And how do we get back on track? If you're on stage and you're in the middle of your performance and you see people tune out, where did we go wrong? And how do we get back on track? And do I get you guys back? I have had those moments on stage.
I was going to ask you, how did you start your relationship with the audience?
Rocky. It's rocky.
Well, tell me like the first time you were on stage. Do you remember it?
For what? That's the question. Because so here's the thing. My relationship with the stage is funny because I'm an introvert, right? Natural. I'm just not shy. And me getting on stage, cool. That means I only have to set myself up to talk to you guys for this amount of time. Fine. When I get off stage, the networking is easier because now you have a subject to talk to me about. I set myself up to win, right? So the first times I was on stage, church, speeches, scriptures, memorized things.
That's something that made you stand out at the book launch. Was you were the only one, there was a couple that had their pieces memorized. And it sticks out when you memorize it because I think you can fully get away from the reading, fully get away from the page and share that emotion that the audience needs to connect with you.
And I can connect. And outside of that, I'm a klutz, right? No, seriously, I am a klutz. And I should not be holding things. I should not. So
right now you're holding two things.
Hey, and I'm sitting down. See, there's balance to this.
That's amazing. I feel like that's such good advice for people, that are speaking on the stage. What about people that are not wanting to do the stage, that are wanting to write a book? Because you also do Penfire Publishing.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that. Like, do you help people get their books to the finish line?
Yeah, I do.
How's that?
So, well, one, I'll back up to the stage first. Okay. Let's back up one. Memorization is not necessary for everyone because some people have conditions where they can't memorize. And some of the best performances have been given by people who were not memorized. I've seen people give stellar performances that were not memorized. So if you are a poet out there, don't let not being memorized discourage you.
That's good.
Because if you
that's
can't,
good clarification.
you can't.
So
some people can't.
How do you think those people that are reading off the page but giving a stellar performance, what is the thing that they're doing, would you say?
They still practice. They read the doggone work like they wrote it.
Yeah.
They read it like they wrote it. They read it like they know it. They have practiced, just like I'm practicing it to memorize it. They practice their written word. They don't just get up there like, okay, I'm going to take this sheet of paper because it's written down. They're practicing their written words. And even if you do memorize, like, oh, I'm going to decide I'm going to do this one that I wrote today, you still need to practice. You need to at least read over it. Like, that's crazy to expect that I'm just going to read it just straight off. No. If you're reading it, you still practice it. And the paper is a tool, not a crutch. So you look down, look up, look down, look up. You're connecting still, because there's still humans out here. So, and even though you're reading, you're still giving the vocal inflection. You're still having a conversation.
Do you have a favorite piece that you've performed?
No.
Not one moment that sticks out to you.
Well, moments, maybe moments.
One I really loved, and I think you love it too, but we'll see, is Deer in Headlights.
I do rather like Deer in Headlights.
It's so good. And the way you give it is so good. I just think the metaphor of the deer in headlights and then into a relationship is so powerful, because everyone's been there. Everyone, at least in the Midwest, everyone knows that feeling of a deer running across the road. That is something that just stuck out to me. I've watched it multiple times on YouTube, and I know other people have too because of the views on it.
I think probably right now, some of my favorite work is the healing I'm doing with comedy. I've never been a comedian. I am not funny at all. I'm goofy. But comedic timing, I tell people all the time, any funny poems or any comedy in the poems that I've written before that, oh, she is a riot from years past. Honey, that was accident. When audiences laughed, I just took note. I'm like, oh, you guys thought that was funny. That's dope. Okay, cool. Like,
you referenced Dave Chappelle. So I was like, okay.
Chappelle Show. I'm like, yeah, I watch comedy, but I'm like not a comedian. So I have this poem called, a few poems, like, where I act a fool in, like they're very high energy, frolic, anarchy against adulting, which is called Fuck It Day. And this poem called Deep. And Deep took me, so Bosia, I watched Def Poetry Jam groupie. But my favorite poem on Def Poetry Jam was Bosia Deep. And Deep is an after poem of Bosia. And like, he says dumb stuff through the poem. Like, I'm so deep, my dick is shaped like Merlin. I'm like, and it was so impactful to me because everybody else on there was so serious. And it was just complete damn nonsense. And Deer in Headlights, I love that poem. But it is domestic violence, right?
It's emotional, yeah. And
I love Sorry. You know what I'm saying? Which, I love all of those very serious pieces because they give something. But the healing I can do when you're in a very serious space and everybody is pouring their heart out and I'm able to just come up and cut the tension.
That's cool.
That's healing, that everything doesn't have to be trauma.
I love that so much.
I can heal And it took me so long to write that poem. It took,
deep.
yes. And it's an after poem. That is the
published
gag.
online? Do you have it up?
No, I don't. Well, no, I've heard it's a version of it up, actually. It is somewhere, and I have to go find it now. I've heard it is a version of it up somewhere. But yeah, that is one of my favorite moments right now because it's just a game changer.
I think that's great because in poetry or slams or wherever, readings, whatever, there is a lot of trauma.
It is.
And I was actually doing a reading at Swordfish Tom's, and I was prepping it, whatever. And I was talking to my husband before, and I had this, I thought, comedy bit about therapy to just switch it up. And it's kind of a sensitive topic in front of a room full of people that are probably in therapy. And he was like, I don't think it's funny. So I was like, okay, I got to work on this. Comedy is
it's a different beast.
It really is.
I admire comedians.
So do I. I love comedy, but I just got into it a couple years ago. And now because usually it's offending for people that don't understand how to take comedy.
Yeah.
So that's why he was just like, I don't think
comedians are
think you're doing it right.
The dopest writers.
They're my favorite right now too.
To write something like that and write it with relevance and write it, because the trick to comedy is white space. To know how much time to let linger for people to catch up to the joke and laugh, or when to keep them coming, to keep them laughing so they can hear. That is crazy. The timing of it is sick.
And usually they have such short
sets
that they have to squeeze in so much, but also with that timing, it's hard to know. So it's very so impressive.
It's very impressive. No, I would say keep working at it and take a chance.
Because I love switching it up on stage too, or in a room when it's all about grief, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I just want to make people laugh because that is healing.
Or even having the funny intro and letting it switch into what was serious, or approaching the serious subject. So my after poem of Deep is making fun of being woke. So I took Deep because his deep was just deep. It was just ignorant. And the biggest compliment I could get was when I performed Deep last year at Rite of Joy. Talam AC was here. And if you don't know who that is, look him up. He is the coldest, baddest dude ever. Like, he was around all the deaf poets, all the people, all the evers. He knows everything and everybody, and he's cultured everything, right? And he's like, hey, he knew what I was doing. He knew who wrote the poem. How did you? I said.
You were just stunned by the compliment?
I was stunned.
You should be. You deserve that.
I was stunned. So that was a whole moment. But about Pen Fire.
Yes.
Helping people write. The most recent thing that happened. Did you hear about the Risa Tisa thing?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so this is some months ago where this woman got up on TikTok and made like 50 episodes talking about how she had gotten married, like hooked up with this cat during the pandemic, and he was not who he said he was.
Okay.
Made 50 episodes of this. And I listened to all of them. I give people advice on how to finish their books or help them. I do the editing and all that good stuff. And there are lots of people with stories to tell. And they want to get it out, but they're intimidated by the writing process. Mm-hmm. Best way I can tell you, why does the writing always have to happen with a pencil and paper? Let your writing honor your process. If you're a dope storyteller, then tell the story. Mm-hmm. Iceberg Slim. So I am also a reader of urban novels and all that stuff. Best stories ever told exist in the Bible by Sister Soldier, Coldest Winter Ever. Yo, when we were talking about books and people taking them, I had to learn. My Coldest Winter Ever got taken 3 times. I still don't have that book to this day. I just refuse to purchase it again. Yeah, Sister Soldier. I had a whole Donald Goines collection wiped off the face of the earth. And Iceberg Slim. First book he put out was Pimp. He really was a pimp. Really was in real life. How did his book get published? He got married to his bottom chick, and he used to always tell his stories, and she had the idea, you know what, you should be publishing these stories. She transcribed them. He told the stories. He dictated them. She typed them. Honor your process. If you're a dope storyteller, tell the story and let somebody else type it.
That's such good advice. So you'll help people do that part of it as well. They'll tell you stories. Have you done that before?
I'm not going to type it because I ain't got time. Because I do a lot.
Okay, well, help someone find a person.
Here's a way. And this is why I mentioned the Risa Tisa thing. She uploaded 50 recordings of herself telling her story. You get where I'm going with this. You have a voice recorder on your phone. Everyone has smartphones. Be smarter than the phone and use the app. You have a voice recorder. Take it a step further. On the voice recorder, if you play the voice recorder and then in your notes app, push your microphone, the microphone will listen to the voice recorder and transcribe the voice recording.
And you could even put that into like AI. I have a friend who he does film, but he'll write a little bit about a story and have AI finish the like grammar pieces and all the little things that he's not getting right, like those fillers.
Yeah.
And I'll tell the story for you. There's so much technology now.
Your personal stories. Now, that's the only thing. You need to tell your story. So you do the voice recording. You tell your story. You go back in there, send it to an editor, or edit in the parts that the voice transcribing doesn't get right.
Yeah.
Because voice transcribing don't be getting names right.
But the meat is there.
The meat is there. And so now, don't worry about whether you told the story chronologically, right? It's down there. Now you're in a word processor. Now you can switch the crap around. Now you can cut, paste, edit, do whatever you need. Now you can hook up with an editor, such as myself. We can make this crap flow. We can make it look how it needs to look. We can, have you doing flashbacks in the mug. Who knows?
Yeah.
But honor your process. Because we have technology, it doesn't have to all look the same anymore.
I love that advice.
Just do what you need to do.
What would you say your process is? Because you have so many things that you have going on. We've talked about so many. How do you keep it all straight?
It depends on where my head is, right? I am definitely, as I said before, a concept artist. So if I have a concept, I am going to jot that concept down, come back to it if I don't have time to honor it at that time. And honoring it means fully flesh out the research of it. But if I have the cogs turning, I'll go ahead and write it out. Whether it's with pen and paper, a lot of times I'm typing. Sometimes my brain is running faster than my fingers. Sometimes I can, if my brain is running like that, I will spit it right on into the voice recorder and let it transcribe and then go back and correct what it didn't transcribe correctly because I'm using Ebonics or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So with this, I usually pop up in places where their location connects with them. But we popped up here today, which is actually amazing since I am 22 weeks pregnant. Yeah. Because carrying all the gear and stuff, loading up the truck, it would have added more. I would need like to hire someone, like lifting it up.
I'm totally okay popping up here because I am at home in my community. I am a Kansas Cityan. So you asked me where I'm at home.
Anywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So, but is there a specific, there's not even a specific location for you? It's just anywhere, anything hits you. It's just wherever you're at.
Wherever I am, I probably am. Yeah, I am in the hood, probably, but we're on 63rd. Like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Wherever I am.
Because your office where is your space that I filmed you at originally?
That was in Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay. So long ago.
And then you did take pictures of me and footage of me around where I grew up, like on Benton.
Okay.
So that's there.
And it's kind of near here.
Yeah. Well, it's down further north. So I could also be on 39th. There's parts of me there, like all over the place.
Yeah. That's cool. So one of the things that we didn't mention that you are also an educator.
Yeah.
And I think we can just tell that by having this conversation is that you have a lot of knowledge. And one thing I think it would be cool to define is all these different types of poetry. Because I think people can kind of get lost in it.
Yeah.
Of like the difference between slam poetry, spoken word, and then just poetry.
Okay.
How would you define the three?
All right. So here's what we do, right? Poetry is poetry. That's what it is.
You can just read it from your book. That's how
poetry is poetry. It comes in multiple forms, has vehicles. Poetry and prose, there's arguments about that. I let other people argue about it. I don't argue about it. I ain't gonna hold you about it. You want to call it prose, fine. You want to call it poetry, cool. Whatever. Poetry normally has some form of meter, some form of spacing, some form of continuity, some form of form on the page.
But you don't necessarily would think, I know you don't want to argue it, but prose can be more long.
Can be a little more long. Doesn't necessarily have to be as rhythmic.
Or shape forming.
Yeah, doesn't have to be shape forming. Poetry doesn't have to rhyme. Can have rhyme scheme, doesn't have to. So we're going to dispel that myth as well. Doesn't have to, right? Spoken word is poetry. Has to be poetry.
Has to.
Cannot be spoken word without being poetry, period. All right? Prose is prose. Okay? Own sector. Prose can be storytelling. Poetry can also be storytelling. And that's where you get in the woods.
Poetry seems to be the most diverse type of writing. There's all different types. Diverse.
So,
and it can be a lot of different things, but other things can't be that.
Right. It's a little bit more stringent, but within spoken word, it is an amalgamation of performance and poetry. There is no performance. It's not spoken word. There's no poetry. It's not spoken word. A rant is a poetic form. So if someone said, they just got up there and they were ranting, did they perform the rant? Ha! Spoken word. So there you go. Now, whether or not it was good spoken word, that is objective. But, well, subjective, objective, whatever.
Yeah.
Active we want to use. But you see what I'm saying?
I do.
You can say whether it was good or not, but you cannot deny whether or not it was spoken word.
To put it in the most basic form, we could just say it's performative poetry.
Yes. Performance and poetry. Those two together, spoken word. Slam. There's no such thing as slam poetry. A slam is a contest.
Okay.
That you do poetry in.
Got it. So when you're doing slam, or like you're in a slam poetry contest, you're doing spoken word. Or just poetry.
Normally, if you're in a poetry slam, in order to win, normally you're doing spoken word. That is normally the expectation. However, I've seen people win slams with just good poetry. They weren't performative at all.
Were they reading or memorized? Just out of
Reading.
curiosity.
I've seen people win reading.
With reading.
Because the point isn't the points. The point is the poetry. So again, don't be discouraged. Get up and do the thing. Because sometimes all it takes is a word to reach a heart.
Totally. Well, I do want to kind of end on putting you on the spot.
Sure.
You're like, please.
What are we doing?
I want you to read, perform something. That's why I was like, we're going to get back to these books. If you wanted to read something, I just feel that the audience couldn't listen to this without listening to a piece of your work.
Okay.
So I would love for you to read something, or if you have something that's not in these books, memorize anything you can choose, and you can take a second.
Let's see. Well, let's get a book.
Here, do you want me to hold this for you for a second?
Let's see what's in this book.
I know, because you don't know what you just forget, right? Once it's published, you have to open it, see what's on. See what's in there.
You know what? I could do self-care because we like cuss words. All right.
We do. I fucking love cuss words. I'm so excited.
Okay, so on the subject of self-care. Fuck self-care.
Wait, actually do it. You can look at the mic.
The camera.
The camera. Sorry.
Fuck self-care. Don't come to me preaching that self-care gospel like it's something new. Fuck self-care. I said what I said. People say self-care like it's some kind of magical elixir. Like self-care like I haven't been taking care of myself this whole damn time. Self-care like I haven't cut off toxic relationships, like I haven't prayed, fasted, exercised, read books, like I haven't mind and managed my own triggers, managed not to pull no triggers. Self-care like I ain't been in recovery this whole damn time. Self-care like caring for oneself isn't work in and of itself, like planning a vacation isn't stressful in and of itself, like figuring out what to do and what not to do isn't fucking traumatic. No, fuck self-care. You see me drowning and flailing in the water, you take care of me. Okay? Black girl magic my ass. Girl, you've got this. Fuck you. Take care of me. Offer the massage without dick attached. Offer the chocolates without offer the meal. As a matter of fact, offer anything without dick attached. Well, unless, of course, that's what I want. In which case, lay pipe Mario and bring Luigi. I mean, workshop me. Figure out what I want. Offer my drinks, alcoholic or non. Feed me or respect when I say I don't want to eat. Help me. Clean my house. Hug my children. Figure out a way to honor me. Send me on vacation with money to spend, or totally for free, you could let me vent without me having to pay rent on your time spent, without wading through suggestion after suggestion of mine, rebuttal after rebuttal of mine, acting like you have all the answers. Maybe I don't want to have an answer this time. Maybe I don't have the capacity. Maybe this is all too much for me. Can you just let it all be too much for me right now? Can you remind me that what I'm feeling is a human experience? Can you talk to me like I'm worthy? Can you tell me I'm worthy? Can you say what needs to be said and mean it? Can you ask me what's on my mind and be a safe space for me to release it? Can you sit in silence with me? Can you hold space with me? can you care for me? Because right now, I can't for myself.
Woo!
That's that piece.
Honey, the way you take us so high and then take us to that emotional state, wow.
And that was definitely a performance edit because I skipped some words, messed it up, but it look. That is
You don't have to say that. We don't know. Unless people know.
You don't know, but that was the part of the lesson. People don't know that you messed up.
That
you
is
just
a good lesson.
Going.
That is a good lesson.
Yeah.
And I think this is a perfect way to end on is massage without the dick attached.
Yes.
Hey.
Offer it. Unless. No.
You want it. I love it. Thank you so much for being here, for coming here into this space.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to give you a hug to end on.
Yes. Let us. I'm so glad. Let me not trip because I told you I am a klutz. Okay. Thank you so much. It's so beautiful. Cut.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode. Leave me a review on your favorite listening channel, Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. I'd love to hear from you. Always with love, A.